Frontier Town, the saga of the Roaring West. Frontier Town. El Paso, Cheyenne, Calgary, Tombstone. Frontier Town. Here is the adventurous story of the early West, the tamed and the untamed, from the Pecos to Powder River, Dodge City to Poker Flat. These are the towns they fought to live in and lived to fight for, teeming crucibles of pioneer freedom. Frontier Town!
Howdy. You know, there are some folks who think the life of a lawyer in a frontier town like Dos Rios is a pretty dull existence in comparison with a cowboy's or a rancher's. But just you take it from me, Chad Remington, that my days trying to practice law in a cow town are a lot more exciting than if I'd stayed out at the ranch my father built and left me when he died a few years ago. Oh, I don't mean that I'm up to my boot tops in rustling trouble or shooting it out with gents on the dodge from the law all the way from San Antone to Santa Fe, but with the type of character the frontier has attracted, we've got just about as many scheming evildoers as we have solid church-going people. Oh, just to give you an idea, a few weeks back when the new spring hit us with a vengeance and the sky overhead was as blue as a mountain lake, I took a ride to see how the trout were doing in a little pool that only I know about. With me, as usual, was my constant companion, Cherokee O'Bannon, who gave up his daily tips with the law for selling the highly volatile alleged remedy known as genuine Cherokee Indian rattlesnake oil for the more peaceful pursuits of operating a livery stable. A livery stable, by the way, over which I have my not very plushy offices. Well, Cherokee and I were jogging along with our legs hooked over the horns on our saddles, thinking ahead just about 3 weeks to the time when the big trout would be raring up hungry.
Chad, my bewildered and bucolic backwoods Blackstone, what train of thought is running through your cunning cerebellum which causes that simpering look to appear in your formerly forbidding physiognomy?
From the inflection of your voice, Cherokee, I imagine that was a question. But what you wanted to know, I'm unable to decipher, since I don't carry a dictionary in my saddlebag.
Me lad, I was just asking what you were thinking about that gave you that faraway and dreamy look.
I was just thinking about that clear blue stream.
Yes.
And that wonderful, cool, deep water.
Oh, no! Water! Never mention that word in my presence again.
All right, O'Bannon. I want you to know that your favorite beverage owes its flavor, if any, to the limestone waters of Bourbon County, Kentucky.
Well, is that so? Why did eat bit of flavor saving?
Labor saving?
Yes, indeed. Bottling the chaser right along with the spirits.
And I hope after this, Mr. O'Bannon, you'll have more respect for H2O.
Between us, my esteemed friend, H2O comprised 96% of my rattlesnake oil, too. Killed the taste.
The only thing that could kill the taste of that stuff is about 3 shots.
3 shots? An excellent suggestion.
3 shots from a Colt 45, I mean.
Sir, you're turning into a destroyer of dreams. As your landlord, let me advise you that hereafter I expect you to...
Hold it, Cherokee. There are some shots, the kind I was talking about. Now get your knee unhooked from that saddle horn and let's start making tracks.
That sounds like a regular gun battle. Get up there, you!
Come on, Cherokee. This thing sounds serious. We'd only ridden about 100 yards, but I was able to see where the shots had come from. Right down below us was a little ranch house belonging to Pat and Bridget Antrim, as Irish as they come and twice as salty. Both Bridget and Pat were in front of their house, Bridget with a shotgun and Pat with a Winchester, sending lead singing over the head of a very frightened gentleman in store-bought clothes. As we pulled up, I thought the stranger was about to collapse. His knees were shaking so.
And what my wife misses with her scattergun, I'll drill you through with this.
Bridget, Pat, now hold it, will you? Put those guns up.
You keep out of this, Chad Remington.
But, madam...
And you keep out of this, too. Because in O'Bannon or not, I'll give you a dose of the same medicine I'm going to give this sniveling, sidewinding snake.
Gentlemen, get me out of here.
Well, we'll get you out all right, mister, and all in one piece. Now, come on. The target practice is over for today.
No one's going to tell me
No
what
one's going to tell you anything, Bridget. If you don't mind, I would like to ask you a few questions.
No one's asking me anything until that pussyfooting varmint's off my property. Go on now, get off.
But see here, I've got a perfect
The only perfect thing you've got right now, my friend, is a perfect chance of getting shot.
So if you'll take Mr. Remington's advice, which he usually charges for, you will amble out of here while you're able and give us a chance of quieting down these good people.
If you're interested in your health, you'll be moving along.
Yes, very well. But I'll be back out here with the marshal. And you just remember that.
What I should have done was salivate him before he makes any more trouble.
Yes, indeed. However, since thanks to Chad, he's now well out of rifle range, I suggest that we repair inside and talk this over something refreshing and companionable. If you know what I mean, I think you do, or I hope you do.
We certainly do understand. Bridget, Cherokee wants a glass of your coldest spring water.
Well, I don't know what more to tell you, Chad, or how to explain
He
it.
just rode up here and started ordering us around.
Well, I can't tell without checking up on it with the county assessor, but it's perfectly true that when the county put in that wooden culvert 5 years ago to drain the water off Pine Top Hill, they did levy an assessment on the Button property.
Didn't you ever get a bill from the assessor?
Nary so much as a piece of paper with a blot of ink.
And no slick-talking spalpeen is going to steal 160 acres that Pat and I have slaved to get.
And to make something of.
Well, that's something that remains to be seen. However, here are two things which are certain. First, that there was an assessment levied of about $20 or $30 against your property. Second, if it hasn't been paid and it's gone to an assessment foreclosure sale, Mr. Beauregard has the right any citizen has of paying it and bidding in the property.
You're a fine lawyer if you tell me that's the law.
Bridget, I don't make the laws. I just try to interpret them, see that they're applied with a certain amount of justice.
And you call it justice that a man like that evil-looking bumpkin Beauregard can steal 160 acres that are worth $5,000 by merely paying $20?
Quite the opposite, Pat. There's a good deal of injustice in it. But the first thing Cherokee and I are going to do is ride into town and talk to the marshal. And I want to know if the assessment was in arrears and if Beauregard has already bought it in or is just bluffing. Well, Cherokee and I had hardly ridden out through the fence of Pat and Bridget's place when we spotted Mr. Beauregard sitting his horse waiting for us. He flagged us down. Much to my surprise, was neither bitter nor belligerent.
I thought I recognized your name, Mr. Remington, when your friend mentioned it.
Yeah?
Being a lawyer, I'm sure that you know that those two heathens haven't a legal leg to stand on.
Don't you go calling people from County Antrim heathen.
Oh, well, I'm terribly sorry. Just a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, you do it again and I'll slip the tongue for you. I'll do it with this.
All right, Cherokee. You've upheld the reputation of all the Irish from Killarney to, well, in your case, the Blarney Stone. Now, getting back to you, Mr. Beauregard. As you say, Pat and Bridget seem to have no legal redress. Well, that's because of the way the law is written. Loopholes up to here.
Well, the law's the law, isn't it?
Well, there appears to be two kinds of law. What's on the books and what's fair and honest. And if you think I'm going to stand by and permit you to steal 160 of the choicest acres in the entire Dos Rios Valley away from two hard-working people, mister, you may know my name, but you don't know me.
Are you trying to intimidate me, Remington?
Oh, no, far from it. Now, I think you're a smart man, Beauregard. Therefore, I'm just giving you what is known as a word to the wise. Because I'll fight you through every court in the state if I have to. And I may even fight you a bit more personally.
Anybody who'd do what you attempted to do is nothing but a nefarious, nickel-nursing no-good. And you don't have to pardon the expression either.
Well, let me tell you something. Neither you nor anyone else is going to stop me from taking what is legally mine when I paid for it. If you're around long enough to even try it. Come on.
Chad, maybe you started out today to see about fishing for trout. I've got a feeling that for a while now we're going to be angling for a slimy old octopus. Come on, let's get back home. Chad, how can you explain them leveling an assessment against the Antrum's ranch and never sending them a notice?
I don't explain it. In 5 years, their memories might have turned a little sour.
Well, then how do you explain this Beauregard person, a complete, total stranger to this part of the country, suddenly showing up in Dos Rios and buying in a delinquent claim even the owners of the property knew nothing about?
Well, that could be more than a coincidence. And if it happens...
Chad, that last shot parted my toupee in a new place.
For God's sakes, Cherokee, fill your hand. Get your gun working.
I see them now, 5 of them up there in those rocks.
Well, let's make it 3 of them. Oh, they're scattering, heading for Pine Top. Come on, Cherokee, let's go.
Small sacred swans, Chad. Where'd they go? Can't see hide or hair of them.
They're hidden by those rocks. We'll get them. Come on.
Wait a minute, there's someone coming toward us out of those rocks.
Oh, confound the luck. It's so narrow through here, we'll never get by him without... Well, look who it is, our friend, Mr. Beauregard. What are you doing up here, Beauregard?
Gentlemen, I cannot tell a lie. I was out hunting. Hunting for skunks. That answer your question?
Yeah, it sure does.
Get out of the way, man. We want to get through here.
You can curb your anxiety, Cherokee. It's too late now, thanks to Beauregard.
Huh? What do you mean by that?
I think you understand what I mean. Just the way I understood you when you said you were out hunting for skunks.
Oh, really?
No, O'Bannon.
Beauregard, if Cherokee and I look like a couple of skunks to you, you need glasses. Because we have spines running down our backs, not stripes. But after this little set to, I suspect you'll soon be wearing stripes. Stripes that run the other way. You'll be wearing them for a good long time.
We'll return to the second act of Land Grab, our exciting frontier town adventure, in just a few moments. And now, Frontier Town.
Well, it was pretty obvious that Beauregard was neither as meek nor as mild as he originally had acted. It's a lead pipe cinch that he had some gunslingers of his own who either tried to make certain that Cherokee and I never got any further into the matter or would be sufficiently warned to leave well enough alone. But all he succeeded in doing was in convincing me that there was something knavish going on. If there were a polecat in the woodpile, it would answer to the name of Beauregard. Well, Cherokee and I wasted no time in getting to town and to the marshal's office. But the time was wasted, and the results disappointing.
Marshal, do you mean to stand there with your marshal's badge hanging out Telling me that you're going to help Beauregard take possession of that 160 acres?
I got my job to do, Cherokee, and that's part of it.
But how is it, Marshal, that not only didn't the Antrims know of the delinquency, but apparently nobody else in Dos Rios did?
What you mean?
I thought I was making myself pretty clear. Apparently, the only person to know about the assessment not being paid is a total stranger. And as far as I know, a man who's never been in Dos Rios before.
It don't make no difference if he come from China. The law says that anybody can check the records and bid in property on which the taxes or assessments haven't been paid.
Well, that scarcely answers my question, does
Now,
it?
you looky here, Remington. This ain't no trial, you know. And if you know anything about the law like you claim you do, why, you'll know that Beauregard is fully protected.
Yeah, I can see that he's fully protected.
Well, blast you anyhow. I don't like that kind of hinting around. And if you try to interfere, you're going to find out that I ain't wearing this badge for nothing.
No, Marshal, I don't think you are wearing that badge for nothing. I'm beginning to think you've decided to make that badge pay off.
Why?
Come on, Cherokee. The Marshal looks as if he's going to blow up. My clothes won't look too good all splattered with yellow. Next day, we heard that Beauregard had hired several men to rip out the Antrims' fences and put up a fence of his own. So Cherokee and I decided to ride out there. There was something wrong, terribly wrong, but I still didn't know what it was.
I'm warning you now. You pull another fence post and you can use it for a cross on your grave.
Marshal, I demand that this woman be ejected from my property.
Demand and be hanged.
Just a minute, Beauregard. If it's all the same to you, I'd like to see the deed transferring the title of this property to you.
Chad, you better keep out of this.
Thanks, Marshal, but I'm here to give advice to my clients and not to take advice from you. Now, where's that deed?
Go on, Beauregard. Show it to him.
Well, all right. Here.
Seems to be in order.
What do you mean it seems to be? Are you intimating that I forged that deed or something?
Not intimating anything. I'm just speaking my mind.
If you have a mind, you'll get out of here before you get into trouble.
Any trouble you or your kind might make for me would be very welcome.
Get out of my way, Chad. I'll take care of you.
Oh, now hold it, Bridget. Cherokee, hang on,
Oh,
will
now.
you?
I'll do what I can, but I can't promise much.
Let me at that thief.
You two dare call me a thief?
Now, would you rather be called something else? A cheap, sniveling crook, for instance? In fact, I can think of a long list which I'll be only too happy to...
Why, you contemptible... Yes.
That's it, Chad. Caught him again.
Knock his teeth out. They're not his anyhow.
Next time you jump someone with no warning, Beauregard, let this
Marshal, I'm demanding that you arrest this man.
Arrest him because you attacked him?
Oh, Bannon, if you don't want to go to lockup, too, you keep out of this.
What? You mean you think you're actually going to arrest me?
Well, I most certainly do. I warned you before. Now maybe you'll learn your lesson after you've had 60 days to think it over.
Oh, now, wait a minute. What's the charge?
Ain't no charge at all. It's all free, at the town's expense. But what I'm going to write on that docket runs all the way from trespassing right on up through assault and battery, so come on. Judge and his daughter's here to see you, Remington.
Well, Judge, this is a fine place to look up your intended son-in-law, isn't it?
Cherokee told us what happened, Chad. This is an outrage.
You mean you'll marry a jailbird, Libby?
If he ever gets around to asking me, I might.
Chad, if you'd like, I'll sign an order getting you out of here.
Yeah, I certainly would like it, Judge. Well, not because your cell's so bad, but because I still have a case to wind up. Goodbye, Marshal. We don't need you around.
I don't need you neither.
Judge, how well are you acquainted with the Attorney General of the state?
Ralph Stevenson? Known him and his family for years.
Chad, do you really think you're in trouble?
No, not yet, but I might be. Judge, if you can induce the Attorney General to come down here, I think we have a nice little case to try in your court in a few days.
What do you want the Attorney General down here for?
Well, you and I know that Beauregard acquired that 160 acres legally.
Legal or not, it's a despicable trick on two people as hardworking as Pat and Bridget are.
As Beauregard and the marshal have assured me several times recently, the law is the law. However, if what I suspect is true, there's another law with a lot more justice in it. One that I think fills the bill, fills it completely.
What law is that, Chad?
Well, offhand, I can't give you the book and page number, but it deals with a marshal conniving with a third party for the benefit of his own bankroll.
You mean you believe the marshal is in with Beauregard?
Probably. But it's more likely that Beauregard is just a front for the marshal. And I think with the assistance of the Attorney General, we can find out.
Well, I'm sorry, Chad, but I don't quite see what you mean.
Well, if your father will help get Ralph Stevenson down here, we'll all see what I mean. And I'll personally be delighted to sweep out this cell before I leave it, so it'll be nice and clean when Beauregard and the marshal take over. Mr. Stevenson, I know what I'm asking is absolutely irregular, but if you lend a hand, it might be worth a lot of votes with the election coming up.
Well, election or not, I'm in favor of your little idea, and you can count on my help.
Good, thank you. Have you got this morning's paper, Cherokee, with that advertisement in it?
Here you are, Mr. Stevenson. There's Beauregard's ad offering that 160 acres for sale to the highest bidder.
Yes. Yes, well, it certainly substantiates what you suspect, Remington.
But since we can't get a conviction on what we suspect, I say let's go to work.
Are you sure that you've never seen this Beauregard before?
Well, unless I met him when he was using an alias, absolutely not.
All right, then. Cherokee, you get us a couple of bandanas with holes cut out while I take Mr. Stevenson to the bank to get some money.
Not meaning to seem reluctant about this, but have you thought what might happen to us if we get shot, my conniving counselor?
I certainly have, Cherokee. Now, we'll bury you up at the Antrim place, right next to the well, so you'll always have a chaser handy.
Would you care to ride out and see the property, Mr. Stevenson?
Oh, well, I wish I could, Mr. Beauregard, but being in town for only a few hours between stagecoaches prevents it.
Oh, it's as lovely a place as I've ever seen.
Well, since I don't want it for my own use, but as sort of a vacation place for my parents, I'm quite willing to take your word for it. That is, if you'll accept my offer.
Well, my asking price is $6,000.
Oh, and my paying price is $4,000.
No. I can't consider it.
It's all cash, with 50% down, right now.
50% down?
Right here, $2,000 in bills. You just give me a temporary receipt, and I'll be back next week to give you the balance. Is it a deal?
Indeed it is. Give me that $2,000, and I'll be here waiting for you when you come back.
Beauregard, I got to hand it to you. A deposit of $2,000 in cash. Why, I can't hardly believe
Well,
it.
you don't have to believe it. Here's your share. 1,000 in nice, crisp new bills. And there's still 16 other towns left in this county.
Well, I'll tell you, there's one more place we can clamp down on just as soon as this gets...
All right, just keep your hands where I can see them. Partner, relieve the marshal of that money.
Indeed I will.
Are you two loco breaking into the marshal's office and sticking us up?
If I were you, I'd shut up.
Here, my boy. Here's that lovely green stuff, just as crisp as lettuce.
All right, now go call Stevenson.
Stevenson. Hey,
I'll get him right in here. Come in, Mr. Stevenson.
Good. I see you've got the money.
so that was your scheme. Get a receipt for my property and then steal the money back.
Only a crook like you would think of a trick like that. Are these the bills you marked, Mr. Stevenson?
They most certainly are. And through the window, I could see they were in the marshal's possession.
Uh-huh. Now, as Attorney General, wouldn't you say that's about a 25-year crime?
Attorney General...
Cherokee, grab him.
Let me hear it.
Yeah. Now, Cherokee, if you wipe your battered knuckles and take the cell keys off Marshall's belt, we got a few skunks of our own to lock up.
Chad, I could kiss you for all the help you've been.
I'm not declining the honor, Bridget, but O'Bannon here deserves half the reward.
Reward? Ah, for a man of my low character, couldn't you suggest something more suitable? If you know what I mean.
Ah, nothing doing. The only thing you're getting to drink is water.
Well, water. I'd rather drink yours.
Yours? What's yours?
I've got you there, my boy. Mine'll be 6 fingers of bourbon, and I want it quick.
Frontier Town, starring Tex Chandler and featuring Wade Crosby, is a Bruce Ells production. Story and direction by Paul Franklin. Music written and played by Ivan Ditmars. Be sure to be with us again, same time next week, for another fine action-adventure story with your favorite young Western star, Tex Chandler. And now this is Bill Foreman telling you that Frontier Town came to you from Hollywood. Saga of the Roaring West. Frontier Town. El Paso, Cheyenne, Calgary, Tombstone. Frontier Town. Here is the adventurous story of the early West, the tamed and the untamed. From the Pecos to Powder River, Dodge City to Poker Flat. These are the towns they fought to live in and lived to fight for. Teeming crucibles of pioneer freedom. Frontier Town!
Howdy. I imagine everyone's heard of the Texas Rangers, but I wonder how many of you folks ever heard the story of the Jailbird Rangers, the very start of what became the Rangers in my state. I come from Dos Rios, just north and west of Texas, and I'm the town's only lawyer. My handle, Chad Remington. And if you want to know why I feel qualified to tell you about the Jailbird Rangers, well, I guess it's because on 2 occasions they almost cost me my life. You see, not too long ago, our entire state suddenly burst wide open with every kind of thievery and knavery in the book. Rustling, bank robberies, coach holdups, and just plain and simple murder. First, the big bank in Alamo City was raided. Then, only 2 days later, way up in the Rockies, a Wells Fargo wagon was stopped and robbed. Not 8 hours after that, down in the Rimrock country in the south part of the state, a trail herd of almost 2,000 head of fine cattle was raided and successfully rustled. And so it went for the next 5-6 weeks. A crime in one county, and then as the sheriff and his deputies went into action, the gang struck again, maybe 400 miles and 5 counties away. Well, mighty discouraging business. And in our own county, almost every able-bodied man was deputized for the search. Even me, our local judge and the owner of the livery stable, Cherokee O'Bannon. Well, after a particularly hot and dusty wild goose chase, we returned to town with our tail feathers dragging, and the judge, Cherokee, and I went back to my office.
If you ask me, and I know nobody did, I think the young man's got bats in his belfry, don't you, Judge?
Never mind what you think, Cherokee. Right now, I'm only interested in finding out if the judge thinks enough of my suggestion to go up to the state capitol with us and introduce me to the governor.
Well, I'll be glad to introduce you to the governor, Chad, but I don't think it's going to do you any good.
Well, I'm willing to take that chance. With every sheriff's authority ending at the borders of his own county, we've got to have state rangers if we hope to break up this crime wave.
Chad, my boy, I wish you wouldn't refer to them as rangers. Very name is abhorrent to me. Chased me clean across the state and out of Texas just because my Cherokee Indian rattlesnake oil failed to grow luxuriant tresses on a bald-headed sergeant.
Well, as long as you just drink your rattlesnake oil and don't try to peddle it, you haven't got any worries. Now, how about it, Judge? Stagecoach for the state capitol leaves in less than an hour.
It's a futile cause, Chad, but I'll do whatever I can. I'll go with you.
If Cherokee and I had gone alone, we never would have gotten in to see the governor. The judge being along made the difference, and the governor received us just about as he was to leave for dinner. In fact, the young lady he was escorting, a willowy and lovely brunette by the name of Dolores Donovan, was there with him. I watched the governor while I pleaded my case and realized the judge was right. It was a hopeless cause.
Mr. Remington, this is a total and absolute waste of my time. With the state treasury on the verge of bankruptcy, you come here asking me to authorize further expenses?
But we need a state police force, Your Excellency.
If you'll pardon me putting in my 2 cents worth, with elections just 2 months away, the governor needs votes.
Thank you, my dear. Gentlemen, and you particularly, Judge, do you realize how many votes I'd lose if I did authorize additional expenditures at a crucial time like this?
Of course, by election, we may have nothing of value left in the entire state, let alone the treasury. Do you realize that more than $1 million has been pilfered or sacked already, and each day that goes by
Governor, we were expected at dinner 10 minutes ago, and it's still a 30-minute drive before we get there.
Sorry, Miss Donovan. I had no idea I was delaying you.
That's quite all right, Mr. Remington. Delighted to have met you. I do hope we meet again sometime, under less hurried circumstances.
Pushed out verbally, that's what we were. Pushed right out.
Oh, forget it, Cherokee. We tried.
I had no idea Miss Donovan had such an influence with the governor, as she seems to have.
No need to apologize, Judge.
You see, his wife died 3-4 years ago. And as I get the story, Miss Donovan, who's quite wealthy in her own right, moved up here from Texas. And they met. But I didn't think for a minute that,
And you see that carriage he drove her off in? The state is paying for that. No wonder the Treasury's almost bankrupt.
Judge, you've done all you could so far, but would you go even further?
Well, I don't know, Chad. What do you mean?
I mean, help me to organize my own state rangers at no expense to the state.
Your own? Where could you get the men and the authority?
And the authority, well, I'll assume that.
Huh?
The men I want, you'd have to help me get.
What men, Chad?
Convicts. Men who are now in the state penitentiary.
Convicts?
Oh, now, look, don't jump down my throat till
Why?
I'm through. Remember first who most of the law officers suspect of heading up this gang of criminals we're after.
You mean Bix Frybeck?
I sure do mean Bix Frybeck, because I think we inherited him from Texas, where the Rangers down there ran him and his gang out a short while ago.
But what in the name of Tomcats has Frybeck got to do with these convicts you're talking about, Chad?
Well, 3 or 4 of them came from Texas. Undoubtedly know Frybeck, or at worst are known to him.
Yes?
Now, most men serving time in prison would give anything to get out. And if you could get a hand-picked few paroled to me, I think they could lead us to Frybeck in short order. And since they say it takes a crook to catch a crook, everyone would profit.
You realize, of course, what would happen if the governor learned of it. He'd throw you into jail along with them.
If he finds out before we catch Frybeck. After, well, I think he'll be taking vows all over the place for cleaning up the state.
Chad, my friend, all this is just dreaming. How can you get a dozen men out of prison?
It's not a dozen. At most, I'll need 6. And since the warden happens to be the judge's former law partner...
Chad, Oh, what's the use of arguing with you? You'll just keep on until I do it anyway. Give me the names of the men you want. If Warden Stribling is the same man I started with in law school, I think you'll have your Jailbird Rangers before long.
Jailbird Rangers is what the judge called them, and the name stuck. The rest of what the judge said stuck, too. For hardly 48 hours later, I heard the toughest and orneriest bunch of cutthroats the state had ever seen, seated around a campfire and learning what I had in mind. And there was John O. Johnson, Waco bank bandit, Black Mike Curtis, West Texas cattle thief, and Red Dooley, who'd shot up the panhandle much to his profit.
You gentlemen would close your oral orifices and let Remington finish. Maybe we could get some sleep tonight.
Boys, I could talk from now till sunup trying to explain every little detail of this to you, but the important thing is to get action. And since 3 of you, John O., Mike, and Red, all know Frybeck and can probably get in to see him without having daylight let through you, what I want to do now is have the 3 of you draw straws to see who goes up there. All right, now look, you knew what this job was before the warden let you out of prison. Anybody who doesn't like it, it isn't too late to have you sent back now.
I think it'd take more than you to send any of us back.
Yeah? Get up here, John. Maybe you're not used to being talked to. Maybe you're used to something more like this.
Who do you think you're slapping?
John O. Johnson, the Waco bank bandit. Now get this through your head. Next time I won't just slap you. I'll knock your teeth back down your throat. I got 3 straws here in my hand. The man who pulls the short one leaves here and walks up that road toward the place you tell me Frybeck's probably using as a hideout. Here, Cherokee. You pass the straws around.
Pleasure's all mine, all mine.
All right, who got the short one? Well, come on, hold him up. Johnson, did you hear what I said?
If I go up there, Frybeck will probably kill me.
You're going up there.
Up in the pen, you always talk mighty tough, Jono. What's wrong, gun yellow?
Sure. You 2 don't have to go. Well, I'm not going either.
Oh, yes, you are.
We'll see about that.
You lily-livered polecat.
He's down like a steer at a rodeo.
All right, never mind the cheering section, Cherokee. Hit Johnson to his feet and started up toward Frybeck's.
Remington, I know Frybeck. If he finds out what you're up to, he'll cut my tongue out.
You stay here and I'll knock it out. Now get going.
Get going.
Johnson disappeared into the shadows. Just as the night swallowed him up, I saw him stop and look back, hoping no one was watching, hoping he could get away. I reached for my rifle and raised it to my shoulder. Johnson turned and shuffled ahead. Then the waiting started. There wasn't a sound, a human sound. Even Cherokee couldn't bring himself to talk. The minutes ticked off, and then the hours started to vanish into the place where time and good intentions go. Mike Curtis and Dooley, as hardened and as black-hearted as they were, sat almost motionless, their backs to two trees. I still don't know how much time had dragged by, but sooner or later we heard the unmistakable sounds of a horse approaching. I motioned to Cherokee and the two others. They got up and crowded around me. The only thought that made any sense was that it was John O. Johnson on his way back with a horse he'd either borrowed or stolen from Dix Frybeck. There's no question that it was just one horse, nothing to be afraid of. We just stood there, almost motionless, as the horse and rider came closer. Then suddenly the horse was almost on top of us, and as the rider could make us out in the dark, he swerved, and before raking his horse again, dropped something large and heavy at our feet.
Billy Blue Blazes, Chad, what is that?
That's what I'd like to know. That is John O. Johnson. Or what's left of him after Frybeck got through riddling him with bullets.
We'll return to the second act of Jailbird Rangers, our exciting frontier town adventure, in just a few moments. And now, Frontier Town.
It wasn't too hard to figure out what had happened. Johnson had taken slugs from every gun in Frybeck's gang. But why it had happened and how it had happened, how Frybeck had even found out that we were there and where we were, seemed to have no answer. I even hate to think of it now that it's all over. I'd never been in a spot like that before, and believe me, I never will again. There was nothing left for me to do except to face it out with the two men left to me, Dooley and Curtis.
I knew this idea was loco all the time, Remington. And I'm telling you right now, I'm getting out of here while I still can.
Yes, you are getting out, Mike, but do you know where you're going?
Huh? What do you mean?
Johnson's body's got to be taken back to the warden. And so do you two.
Wait a minute. You think you're taking me back to that jail? You got another thing coming.
Don't be idiotic. Chad's right. Besides, it's for your own protection.
I got all the protection I want. I'm out and I'm free.
Well, you won't be out long if Frybeck finds you. Oh, Mike, don't you see? With Johnson dead, everybody and his brother will soon find out you and Dooley are out of the pen, and then...
Chad, he's grabbing for your rifle.
What? You hog-brained him. So let go of that. Cherokee, the other one. Don't let him get away.
Till I ever get away. Confound you, you unintelligent rowdy. Do I have to just bust you into pieces?
Well, for a moment there, O'Bannon, I thought our numbers had come up. Hey, you did a nice job on Dooley.
You know something, Chad? Now I really need a drink, to be frank about it.
Yeah, but right now you're not getting one. Because we've got to tie up these two and start hauling them back to jail before we're caught with two escaped convicts. Take a little advice from a Cowtown lawyer. Never get mixed up like I did. Oh, not that the idea wasn't essentially a good one, but when you're dealing with convicts, you've paroled yourself against the strict orders of the chief executive of the state. Well, Cherokee and I bundled up Curtis and Dooley and started back for the penitentiary as fast as 4 horses would carry us. All the while, I thought of nothing except how I could explain John O. Johnson's death outside the prison walls. The 4 of us were not over a half-day's ride from the penitentiary, and except for the problem still having no answer, everything seemed to be going smoothly.
Chad, after this day is over, you don't give me 2 bits to spend over the gleaming mahogany of the nearest tavern, I'm going to drink a pint of that snake oil myself. The very thought of it makes me shudder.
It's too bad you got a remedy for snake poisoning instead of lead poisoning, because before this day is over, we may be... Uh-oh. And what's this coming?
Seems to be a party of horsemen. About 10 of them.
Yeah, it sure does. One of them seems to... Cherokee, duck! Hey, what's the idea? Who do you think you're shooting at?
You make one move and you'll never know. Slow down, boys.
Yeah, that's them all right. Tom, go get their guns.
Just a minute. There must be some mistake. Who do you think we are?
Well, I'm not too sure about you two, but the 2 with you with their hands tied up are known as numbers 23476 and 35108, formerly Mike Curtis and Red Dooley. And I've got an idea that starting today, all 4 of you are going to be wearing numbers. Come on.
How anybody knew that Dooley and Curtis were out, except the judge and the warden, I couldn't understand at the moment. But I was to find out, all right. Find out the hard way. Well, with 10 guns pointed at our backs, they had no trouble herding Cherokee and me into those little waiting rooms they call cells.
I hate to be derogatory, my boy, but seems to me that your idea kind of backfired.
Backfired right through John O. Johnson to start with. Now we're in it up to our necks.
Please. When you're a resident of a calaboose, as we are, it's the height of impropriety to speak about necks. What are we going to do, Chad?
I've sent for the judge.
You don't think he's going to be able to get us out of this one?
Might help. After all, he is the political leader for Dos Rios County, and he does possess a certain amount of influence with the governor.
And now, if you'd have sent for Dolores Donovan, you'd have picked someone who really has influence with the governor.
Miss Donovan made quite an impression on you, didn't she, Cherokee?
Indeed she did. Too bad it couldn't have been vice versa.
Yeah, she made an impression on me, too. And with the judge... Well, looks like the judge's coming now.
Chad Remington, have you any idea of the trouble you're in?
You certainly don't have to remind us, Judge. When you're outside those bars and we're behind them.
Now, isn't that the kind of answer you'd expect from Cherokee, Judge? He can always manage to drag bars into the conversation.
Chad, how in the name of Tophet can you act so lighthearted about a thing like this?
Because I think that now I've figured out a way to catch the Frybeck gang. And all you have to do to help, Judge, is to get the governor's ear privately and arrange another audience for us with him.
The governor? Chad, you know it's impossible under the existing conditions.
As Miss Donovan pointed out, the governor is interested in votes to re-elect him. And if you'll point out to him that landing the Frybeck gang in jail will get him more votes than all his election promises put together, well, I don't think he'll refuse to at least listen to us.
Well, maybe so, Chad.
Good. Now, get your ear over here where I can stop yelling. I'll tell you exactly what the governor will do.
Mr. Remington, so far you haven't told the governor anything at all to make him believe you know how to or where to round up the Frybeck gang.
You're perfectly right, my dear. In your present position, Mr. Remington, your promises don't mean a thing.
Oh, Governor, I can't blame you at all for your attitude, but if I might have a moment with you alone, I'll be only too happy to tell you what I have in mind.
My dear Miss Donovan, why not step outside the anteroom with me while the governor...
Just a minute, Dolores. Anything Remington has to say to me, he can certainly say in front of you. If he has anything to say.
I should certainly think so.
Very well. And I'm forced to admit that I have no actual plan. However, I happen to know that there's a shipment of $70,000 in gold coming into the Dos Rios State Bank tonight by train. And I'm most anxious to be on hand to make sure it gets there.
Remington, the only place you're going is back to jail. You got more nerve than anyone I've ever encountered. Don't you think so, Dolores?
Really, I don't think I should interfere in your business. And as a matter of fact, if you'll pardon me, I believe I'll go back to my hotel.
But Dolores...
I'll talk to you in the morning. Good night, gentlemen.
Well, what do you know? You were right, Chad. She actually took the bait.
Oh, now do you believe me, Governor? She can't wait to get to Frybeck and tell him about that $70,000 gold shipment.
So that's why she played up to me. Just to find out what was... Remington, if you're going to follow her, you'd better get going. Apparently, Frybeck is hiding not too far away from here, and we must take no chance on losing her now.
Bix, I know what I heard. 70,000. This will be a real cleanup.
Biggest we pulled yet, if it works.
Oh, of course it'll work. And with that much in our hands, we can be on our way. Just the two of us. Well, I don't have to listen to that stuffed shirt of a governor again.
Look, I'll have to get the boys together. You duck out of here. Go back to your room. Pack up. And once you hear we got the gold, check out, meet me at the cabin.
Bix, now, be careful. Don't take any chances, honey.
With you waiting for me at the other end. Come here.
Oh, Bix. Bix, darling.
All right, baby. On your way now. Papa's got work to do that just ain't gonna wait. With all that money in our jeans, you and me are gonna do the world of brown. See you.
Huh? You sure will see her, Frybeck, in jail. Cherokee, come on.
Remington, of all the low, slimy snakes I've ever...
Oh, no, you don't. Cherokee, keep the girl covered.
I'm gonna blow you up. Still there, you little vixen.
You...
Frybeck, your number is up right now.
You filthy sidewinder. You hurt him. You broke his jaw.
Sure hope he did, but I'm afraid Mr. Frybeck is just out listening to the birdie.
Dolores, old girl, I'm sorry we spoiled you. Well, to be polite, let's call it your elopement. But you may get out about 10 years before Frybeck does. If you love him so much, you can just wait for him. You chump.
Of course, I'll be glad to call on visiting days and bring you posies, Dolores, my darling.
Good idea, Cherokee. Since they missed that bank shipment, maybe you can send her bunches of goldenrod. And from you and me, personally, I think some forget-me-nots. All right, come on, Dolores. Let's be heading for jail.
Chad, I think you were very wise in seeing that Miss Donovan's story didn't get to the papers.
Well, I didn't see where it'd serve any public purpose now that the governor's had his eyes open.
The warden said that in another few days she'll be shipped back to Texas on extradition papers.
Won't someone have to be sent back with Miss Donovan? You know, sort of guard her?
Well, yes, of course.
Well, then, Judge, I'd like to volunteer for the job. I feel it's my duty as a public-spirited citizen.
Well, that's a job you'd certainly love, hey, Cherokee? You're walking right into the arms of the sergeant of the Texas Rangers who's been looking for you the last 5 years.
Why, certainly, as a public-spirited Texas Ranger. Time I open my mouth, I put my foot in it.
Which I might point out is a lot healthier for you in the long run than what you generally put in your mouth.
The way you talk, the judge might likely imagine I'm addicted to liquor.
Oh, far from it. The only time I've known you to take a drink is when you were suffering.
See there? And what do I suffer from, Chad?
The only thing you've ever suffered from, Cherokee. Thirst.
Frontier Town, starring Tex Chandler and featuring Wade Crosby, is a Bruce Ells production. Story and direction by Paul Franklin. Music written and played by Ivan Ditmars. Be sure to be with us again same time next week for another fine action-adventure story with your favorite young Western star, Tex Chandler. And now this is Bill Foreman telling you that Frontier Town came to you from Hollywood.